Do you know that 99% of the top students do this one thing, and you're probably not doing it? Hello, my name's Phil, and this is
Mike,
and you're watching the IELTS Grind.
remember to like and subscribe.
So, what is that thing that some of the most successful IELTS students do that you're probably not doing in your writing?
I don't know, Phil. What is it?
It's pretty simple. It's
Proofreading.
Now, what does proofreading mean?
It means going back and looking over what you wrote.
No, it can't be that easy.
No, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all they're doing.
You go back and you look at what you wrote.
That seems too simple. So why aren't people doing this? No, we're joking. But it really is that simple. You need to have time within your planning, your writing, to actually go back and read what you've written. Just by doing this, you could pick up on those small little errors that could cost you points in your PAN score.
And you know that you make these. You even fix them all the time. Like if someone points it out to you and you're like, hey.
I even make these. We all make these, yeah. And the way you fix them is to read them. So let's give some sort of examples of what we mean. What sort of things are you likely to pick up if you just read back through what you're writing?
Well, first of all, there's agreement. What does that mean?
So this is basically with your verbs, for example. So a common error I have is there are many factors which involve this, blah, blah, blah. One of them are, or one of them is, they would say. Yeah. So things like this, when you start off with a noun, that's not a very good example, but when you start off with a plural noun and then your verb is for the, not for the third person, for example.
And that was a high level example. Some simpler examples are he has.
Oh yeah, this is this.
Instead of he have. Okay?
Yeah.
I has. I have.
Yeah.
Okay? It increase. It increases.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you're using the past tense, it's usually a lot easier.
Definitely, yeah.
But you've still got to be looking out for these things. And that's the second thing. You need to be looking out that you're using the correct tense.
Definitely, yeah. A common error I come across with my students is they do fine with the first sentence. They say yesterday, and then they think, okay, I'm talking about the past. The examiner knows I'm writing about the past. So it doesn't matter what I do now. I can just use the present simple, right? No, wrong. If you're talking about the past, for example, use the past tense.
The whole time.
The whole time.
Sometimes, and this even happens in speaking, right? They say, when I was a child, I go to the movie.
Yeah, it's no, you didn't. I know we're maybe making fun of this a little bit, but you know this. This is sort of something that you have learnt already, but obviously in the stress of the exam, you miss it. But by proofreading, you will catch that error, and all you have to do is cross it out, write the correct form of the verb or whatever over the top, and that's fine. Does it matter if your exam paper has crossed out things in it?
No, that means that it's not there,
Yeah.
and the examiner should be reading what you did right.
Yeah. It doesn't have to look beautiful. It just has to be legible, as in you can read it. So don't be afraid of crossing things out and writing them again. You can absolutely do that.
And are there any more mistakes that are really common here?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about agreement, my terrible example, your much clearer example. But other things like plurals, just missing an S when there should be an S. If you're talking about more than one thing, there needs to be an S. So a common mistake would be something like, there are many examples of this. Examples, we need an S there.
And by the way, I think you just did a video on common grammar mistakes.
Yeah, so there is a video of the 6 most common errors that my students make. These are things that I correct at least 20 times a week when I'm correcting writing assignments. So are you making those mistakes? You can watch that video. There's a description, there's a link in the description there, and you can check that you're not making these mistakes.
So let's go back to something you said about planning with
Mm.
this in mind. So I usually tell my students, so if I say, how long do you have to write task one for the IELTS exam? Writing, okay? Writing task one. And all of you guys should all say 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's how long you have to finish everything.
Mm-hmm.
To actually do the writing, you probably have closer to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need 2 to 3 minutes to plan, then you're going to need 15 minutes to write, but then you should have another 2 minutes at least for proofreading. When you're practicing your essays, use this time structure. And then if, for example, you're in our class, hello students, please even afterwards, go back and in a new color, separate from the one you used for your last minute proofreading, go back and proofread again, because I bet you will find more with more time. And the
Yeah.
more that you do this proofreading, the fewer mistakes you'll probably make in your first writing.
Definitely, yeah. It's practice because not only just for proofreading, you need to get used to correcting your own writing, but it's making time to be able to do that. Now, if you were going to eliminate anything from your test day writing, I would not eliminate proofreading. It's essential. It's essential. Are there any other ways that you can improve this skill other than
There is.
Okay,
There
what else can we
is.
do?
It's crazy. I learned it from my dad.
Oh yeah.
It's called reading out loud.
Did you just invent that? I know that's wow. I've never heard about that before.
This is called sarcasm.
Yeah. This is the point of this video. These are simple ideas, but people just forget about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, obviously, if you've watched our video about rules on an exam day, you cannot disturb other people around you. So you might just have to do that just under your breath, which means, loud enough that you're not doing it in your head, but you're not, disturbing other people. Now, why does this work so well?
I don't know. Can you explain it?
Well, we're not scientists, but I believe it's because there's a difference between your internal monologue and the part of your brain that sort of interacts with speech. And I often have this issue that if you read a sentence where you've made a mistake in your head, and for example, you've missed a word, then you insert that word naturally because your brain kind of tells you it should be there. But if you read it aloud, you spot where those missing words are. So it's something to do with the way that the human brain works, I think.
And I know that it's annoying. I know that you guys are thinking it's an extra step. And that's how I used to think as well. And I always had typos in the things I was writing when I was in elementary and high school.
Yeah.
My dad told me, read it out loud and you'll find the mistakes. I didn't listen then, but now that I'm a teacher, please listen to this advice.
I have a very good story about this. I had a student perhaps last year, and I walked into the class. It was a one-on-one student, and he opened his mouth and started talking. I thought our school was joking. I thought it was there was a hidden camera somewhere because it was like talking to another native. This was a guy who'd grown up in South Africa, and he needed to get a band score 8 to go to medical school in the UK, and he had certain requirements across the board. And he was struggling with writing. He could not get higher than band score 5.5. But he was fluent. Speaking to him was amazing. And we looked through and we looked at his work. He wrote me lots of examples. And I asked him, did you ever read it aloud? And he went, no. And he read it aloud. And I was like, oh, right, yeah. And I believe he went on and he passed that exam. He had no problems. He never came back. So I think that's right. But you see, even for a native level student, native speaker level student, they can make the same mistakes, and you can fix it just by proofreading.
Yep. And as with anything, remember this is the IELTS grind. We're not giving you shortcuts. We're telling you the things you need to do to get the score you need.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect. Write essays, proofread within that time.
So here's the thing. Can you go away and write a practice task 1 or task 2 and do what Michael said? Read it aloud and check all the errors that you can spot. and then go back with a second pen and correct anything else. How many extra errors did you find with the new color pen? Write that in the comments, let us know.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yeah, let us know.